Yo, y'all know I use a ton of cameras, but this bad boy right here, the BlackMagic Pyxis 6K, can do one thing that I haven't found that any other camera can do, and in this video, we gonna talk about it. Let's go. What up, y'all? It's T-Shirt Terry World, and I'm back for another video. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Remember to be thankful for your freaking life today because you didn't have to have it, and I'm so grateful that you chose to spend this day with T-Shirt Terry. Before we get on with it, let me let you know that first, yes, BlackMagic did hook me up with the Pyxis 6K a couple months ago, actually, but as a lot of y'all probably know, mirrorless cameras are pretty easy. Just slap a lens on them and go. Well, cinema cameras, not so much. They kind of need to be rigged out, which is one of the amazing things about the Pyxis because it's so modular, but I did have to wait for pieces and parts from a lot of my partners. So I will leave links to all of this stuff, which I'm going to go over what it is, but I'm going to leave links in the description to BH Photo. Make sure that y'all use the links and shop BH Photo. They've been a major supporter of this channel for years. Honestly, that's where I do all of my shopping. They're trusted. They even have a used section and all of that other good stuff. So make sure you check out BH Photo. Use the links in the description. So if you haven't noticed, me, Cam, Kofi, Chris, Lee, B-Wash, Jarrell, it's really because of them. A lot of us have been doing a whole lot more live streams lately, but me, Cam, and Kofi have kind of decided that we want to kick things up a notch and we want to do our live streams in freaking Anamorphic. Now, some of y'all are going to say, oh, well, you can do Anamorphic D-Squeeze through OBS. And yes, you can, but I would rather watch 3 pigeons fight than to mess around with OBS. So this video, I'm going to show you how you can set this camera up real easy to do Anamorphic live streaming. But before I do, I'm going to show you my rig. All right, so here's the beautiful thing about the Pyxis. You can rig this bad boy up however you want to, or not at all if that's your thing. But this is mine. It's kind of like a Franken build, and yes, I know my desk is a mess, but it is what it is. Let's get into this thing. Started with the cage itself. So this is from Condor Blue, and what I love about the Condor system is it's modular. So you have these plates right here, and you can either put one here, you could just do one there, you could do 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. So I've opted to go with a plate on the top and a plate on the bottom so that I can put the ribs on there, so that I can put handles and all that other good stuff on there. So those are from Condor Blue. Also, that top handle is from Condor Blue. Again, I'll link all this stuff in the description. And because we are using this for a live stream, I mean, I have a monitor on here. It's a little cheap, newer monitor. It's an SDI monitor, but you don't really need to because you're able to see everything that the camera sees on the screen. I'm going to show you all of that in 1 second. Now, the lens I use is the Blazar 45mm T2 Remus. I freaking love these lenses. My dog Cam Mackey, although he is ugly as hell, he has a great heart. And, you know, I always give stuff away and pay stuff for it. And Cam was like, you know what, bro, just keep them because he let me use them. So shout out to Cam Mackey, man. You a real one for providing me with this set. I really appreciate it. You need to brush your teeth, though. And it is mounted on the front of my Pyxis. I have an L-mount Pyxis using the Mophage Poco V&D adapter. So this is an L to PL or PL to L, however you say it, but it has a drop-in ND system. Let me show it to you real quick. So this thing right here, I don't have it in the camera because I don't need ND filters in here, but it has a little wheel right here, and this changes the opacity of the ND. This is a 1 to 9 stop system. So I've never been outside and needed to use anything darker than this right here. Let me show you the other thing, and it is this Talos friction arm. Now I know most of us have friction arms already, but I do use the DJI LiDAR system, but in the studio I don't need the actual LiDAR part. But when I do need to mount it, I just put it on this Talos arm, and let me show you how strong this thing is. Now what's dope about the Talos is everything is controlled by this lever right there. So once you unloosen it, the camera focus might be jumping around, but I can move it all around. Both axes, I can move the heads of it. And once I have it in a position all I got to do is retighten it, and it locks everything into place. This is one strong arm, y'all. I'm about to show you. So I'm locking this all the way down, and this arm can support the full weight of this Pyxis with no problem. I can tilt it. I can do everything I want with it. And sometimes I'll use this Talos as a handle if I don't want to have this handle on here. So anytime I want to use the LiDAR, which in the studio I don't because I have the focus wheel for it, so I can just manually adjust my focus with this instead of using the LiDAR, which does drain the crap out of the Focus Pro, then I'll just take the monitor off and flip the LiDAR unit right over on top of the lens around this area, and then I have autofocus using the LiDAR. Obviously you can use this arm to mount all over the camera, to mount other action cameras, microphones, all of of that stuff on there. So big shout out to MoFage for hooking up the Poco VND adapter and the Talos Magic Arm. Really appreciate both of them. So again, we got the DJI Focus Pro hand grip right there. There's the little monitor I told you about. We don't need to spend time on that. Now, as far as microphones, I actually prefer to go with a wired solution. So I use the DJI mics and I just plug it into the 3.5mm jack on there, and then because the handle has a cold shoe mount on it, I just mount the microphones right there. You're probably like, well, Terry, how do you actually use it? I'm gonna show you in a little bit, all right? Got a Mondo tie right there to handle my cables, and then when it comes to battery, I need to show you these batteries from Core SWX. So check these bad boys out right here. So if we flip this over, this is the Nano U98X, and I freaking love these batteries. A lot of people prefer to use V-mount batteries. Personally, I don't. Let me show you what's dope about these. First of all, you have a button right here for you to check the power level. You just press that. It shows you how much battery you have in here. These are 6600 milliamp, 98 watt hour batteries that support USB-C power delivery. So yes, the Pyxis does have options for you to give it constant power from like a wall source or something like that. However, with these, because you can charge them and use them at the same time, if you plug this up to a USB-C cable while it's inside the Pyxis, you get constant power because the USB-C cable keeps the battery charged and the battery continually powers the Pyxis. Also, let's just say you got other camera accessories, or you got like your phone or something like that, and you're out and one of those dies, you could use this as a power bank. You could just plug it up to this thing with USB-C and charge your other devices, which is fire. You got P-tap right there. So I actually have one in the Pyxis right now. This is what it looks like. Again, I prefer this over the V-mount solution, but big shout out to Core SWX for sending over these batteries, man. They have the best power solutions, hands down, for cinema cameras out there. And then lastly, although storage is not required for you to be able to stream using the Pyxis, I do want to give Lexar a shout out for sending over 2 of their 1 terabyte CF Express Type B cards. These support up to 1700 megabytes per second. I've been using Lexar cards for a long time. I'm still using SD cards from them from like 5 years ago with no issue. So big shout out to Lexar for hooking me up with the storage. Now let's go ahead and set up the Pyxis for live streaming, and I'm going to show you the software and everything I use to get this dope live stream anamorphic look. People initially thought when the Pyxis came out that you needed to use adapters and like conversion boxes and all of that stuff. You just don't. The Pyxis can do everything we're about to talk about over USB-C. So the only thing you need is one freaking long USB-C cable to connect the computer to the Pyxis. Now, let me show you how to set the camera. All right, so the first thing we want to do is go into the record screen right here, and we want to set our resolution to 6048 by 4032 open gate. We want open gate because we're using anamorphic lenses. Open gate gives you the most flexibility with playing with aspect ratios and crops after the fact. As far as bit rate, I don't know if it actually matters in streaming or not, but I either have mine set to 5:1 or 8:1. The next thing we want to do is select our frame rate. I prefer to stream in 24 or 2398. You know, some people prefer 30 frames per second. This is totally up to you, but I leave mine at 2398. The other thing I choose to do is have this set to Rec 709. So this is sending out Rec 709 to my streaming software, which is Ecamm. So I'm going to show you that in a little bit. Now, you could also add in LUTs in the camera, and the Pyxis will actually apply those LUTs and send that out over USB-C. However, I prefer to do it in Ecamm also. Now, the next thing we need to do is go over to the monitor tab. So this first row up here is going to tell the Pyxis where to send the monitoring signal to. So if you're using like a SDI monitor, you'll want to flip that over to SDI. If you're using a BlackMagic Pyxis monitor, I think you use USB-C, although I don't have one. But neither here nor there, you really don't need this again if you're live streaming because you can see your feed on the screen. Now the next part is very important. So if we go to the next screen right here, you see anamorphic D-squeeze at the bottom. So depending on the type of lens you're using, you'll want to set the proper D-squeeze ratio in the camera. And this is where the Pyxis shines because no other camera, to my knowledge, can de-squeeze footage and send it out as a live stream signal over USB-C. So that is why the Pyxis is so fire for anamorphic live streaming. There's no other camera that can freaking do this. The next thing we need to do is go to audio, and because I'm using the DJI mics, and I'm going to show you again how I use these in 1 second, we need to set both our channel 1 and our channel 2 to 3.5 millimeter. And then the last thing, and arguably next to the anamorphic D-squeeze, the most important part is we want to go to setup, and we go over one screen and make sure USB as webcam is turned on. If you don't have that turned on, it will not show up as a camera in your streaming software. And I just said last thing, but really y'all, this is the last thing. If you go to the LUTs tab, turn this to Gen 5 film look. You can cycle through these and pick which one you prefer, but I just prefer to leave this on Gen 5, and then any color grading I can do in Ecamm. Now let's jump over to Ecamm, which is the streaming software I use, and I'm gonna tell you why. All right, so this is what my live stream looks like, and I've been telling y'all throughout this whole video that I use the DJI Mic 2s to get my audio from. Well, my receiver just decided to freaking stop working. I, tried all the fixes. It ain't working. Anyway, so I switched over to the Mic 2s, but the concept is the same. This holder right here is actually made by Original Dobo. His name is Ken. I don't know if he still sells these or not, but basically this is a holder made to house wireless mics to use as like podcast style mics. So you just clip it in there, you put the little thing on top, and now we have wireless audio, but like from a podcast style. So I'll make sure that this is linked below. So the next thing is this software right here is called Ecamm, and this is what I use. I know some of y'all use OBS, but this is where the power of Ecamm comes in. So first of all, it's only for Mac, so if you're a Windows person, I'm sorry, but it's very, very simple to set up. So this is my main look right here, and if we look around the screen, I have a sound effects board. Of course, you could use like, a mixer board or like a Stream Deck or something like that to do all of this, but it has all this stuff built in to the UI. So like all of my sound effects are over here. I got different like overlays. If I want to put the comments on the screen from the live stream, I can. Down here, I have my mix board so I can adjust all of my levels. All of my comments during the live stream show up here. Over here, I can invite somebody. So a lot of times y'all see me going live with like Cam or Kofi. All I have to do is send them a freaking link and they can join in. And then over here is where we have our basically color grading panel at. Now, I told y'all I prefer to get a Rec 709 out the camera, which that's totally up to you. You don't have to. However, I just prefer to do that. Now, I am using one of my LUTs called Drama, and I have it kind of dialed back in opacity, but it gives it like this moodier look, and I'll leave a link to that obviously in the description also. But you got all these different picture settings down here, and once you go up here, you can switch from scene to scene. So like I have an intro scene, I have a live stream scene, if I want to share my screen, and all of this is built right into Ecamm. There's even a camera switcher right on the screen, so if you have more than one camera, if you want to use your iPhone as like a wireless camera, you can just by adding different cameras to the scene, and with the switcher you could just bounce back and forth between cameras. And this is only scratching the surface of what Ecamm can do. I have my notifications that pop up when somebody subs or when I get a super chat. So all of these plugins that you can get online that you would think would only work with OBS actually work with Ecamm also. As you see, my image is already de-stretched. I don't have to go into OBS and punch in some type of stupid conversion and all of that stuff. The Pyxis is sending out my de-stretched image over USB-C. It's just one cable. That's all I need. I don't need to do anything else. So I got one cable, sending my camera feed, sending my audio from the DJI Mic Minis, and my audio is wireless inside of this wireless microphone holder. My image is de-stretched already, and it's a saucy look, and I can switch back and forth between scenes, camera angles, all that stuff. So I'm going to leave a link for you to try out Ecamm. Again, it's only for Mac. You get a 14-day trial, but yo, if you want to get into streaming, especially if you want to go with like the anamorphic look, Ecamm is the way to go. Now, I know I told y'all you don't need a monitor, and this is why. You can see it, and this is also why I keep this handy. So if you do want to use anamorphic glass while you're live streaming, the problem is unless you have a autofocus system, that means, let me actually adjust it right now because I'm out of focus. So you just turn this wheel. Without this, you would have to get up and manually like set the focus on the lens. It can be pretty cumbersome and annoying because if you don't have anybody to help you, then you got to focus on something where you're going to be sitting at, and then you got to stop the lens down so that you got enough depth of field and all that other good stuff. Anyways, I get it. This is a super snobby setup, but to my knowledge right now, there's no other camera out there that can output a de-stretched image over USB-C being a webcam. And this is why the Pyxis is so good. I would think that if any company would jump on this bandwagon also, it would probably be Lumix because their cameras already have crazy anamorphic support. I'm not saying that you should go out and spend a whole bunch of money on a BlackMagic Pyxis and a Focus Pro and a set of anamorphics and all that other stuff, but if you just got it like that and you want to, then I'm not gonna try to discourage you. But neither here nor there, the last thing about this look is really all about lighting. So I'm gonna do a separate video on how to get this lighting set up, okay? So make sure that you are subscribed with the notifications turned on so that I can show you all of that. Plus, we about to be at 100K anyways, and I would love for you to join the family. So again, thank you to all of my partners who helped out with this build. Make sure y'all hit the links in the description and shop at BH Photo. And that's it. So until next time, I'm out of here. Tight shirt, Terry Warfield. Piece of chicken grease. Much love, y'all. Peace.